Welcome to Week in Horror.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The only podcast that will feed your horror need.
The need to feed.
With JL.
Yeah, I'm a fucking masochist. I'll watch that shit.
Eugene.
Somebody has to be the sex symbol, I'm sorry.
Alex.
Shit, I just demonetize this forever.
And Johnny O.
How do you like that shit? Got halfway through the monologue before unmuting myself. Golly, it's one of them fucking days.
With industry guests.
Hi, this is Richard Oakes, Director of Host.
Hey, this is Adam Leader, Director of Host.
This is Matthew Mark Hunter.
I'm Don Ellie.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
And this is Week in Horror.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
News, trivia, and more.
One by one, we will take you.
Join our live show Wednesdays at 7 Central, youtube.com/weekinhorror, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Week in Horror. Stay scared.
Welcome, horror fans. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. 03 Central Time. That means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast. The only podcast that has a bad feeling about this drop. And if you're joining us from your favorite podcast host, you can join us here on YouTube for our live show so you too can get on the bloody fun. What are you waiting for? Join us. This week, we're covering select horror films released July 24th through July 30th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Alex, and with me tonight are Eugene and JL.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, everyone.
How y'all doing? How y'all holding up in this damn heat?
Oh, it's got to be well, it's pretty bad up here, you know. But I mean, it's got to be worse down in Texas because y'all got the humidity.
Listen, it's not too bad because it's been dry as shit, which is the problem, because now everything's on fire, which is a problem. But that being said, I walked outside yesterday from work, and I used to work outside every summer, so I was used to it, and I'm not anymore. And I walked outside, and I was like, wow, the air is spicy. It's mad.
It's like having a hairdryer just in your face. Just all the time.
I know that yesterday, Britain recorded its highest ever heat, like, in its history of recording temperatures.
104 Fahrenheit, I think it was like 40 Celsius. Generally, I don't feel bad when they're like, oh my gosh, it's, you know, the equivalent of 75 degrees Fahrenheit. It's so hot. I'm like, okay. And then it was 104. I was like, oh shit, somebody saved the Brits.
It reminded me because I vacationed in Hawaii one time, and we were, you know, it was great because I lived in Texas for so long, and we're used to, like, you know, 110 degrees in the shade, you know, whatever, 120 heat index, and, you know, playing football in that shit. So we went to Hawaii, and it was like 72 degrees just the whole time we were there. So it was just like, oh, this is beautiful, and this is really, you know, this is just fantastic. So we're all just relaxing, and I remember we were taking a catamaran ride, and there was a family from Scotland that it was vacationing there as well, and they were on the same catamaran, and I noticed that they were hanging out at the back, and they all looked like they were dying. So it looked like like laid out like we're going like, and I had to ask. They looked bad, and I was like, "Are y'all okay?" They're like, "Oh yeah, we're okay." And I was like, "Where are you guys from?" And it was like, "Oh, we're from Scotland." And I was like, "Oh, like how hot does it get there?" And they're like, you know, like 50, like 50 degrees. And I was like, "Oh wow." So it was like, where are you from? I was like, "Oh, Texas." And right now it's about 106, 107 there where we are. So it's all good. But yeah, it's wild. And of course, like, Spain is on fire and Britain's on fire and their runways are melting. It's just
their tarmac literally melted. They had to stop flights to multiple airports because they're literally melting.
I'm telling you, end of the world.
Hey, I'm saying because they don't really have ACs in England. Because they'll have like window units, but not like AC units like we have, like full house cooling units. So there may be a new market for that. So that may be a good stock tip if you just buy stock in like Train or something like that. Because if they open up a production facility in the UK, you're off and running.
I mean, to be honest with you, we should probably like focus on why the planet is so damn hot. But you know.
Yeah, I remember hearing about people going like, "Oh, global warming doesn't exist," and I'm like,
warm enough for you?
Yeah. It's not even the hottest part of the year. We're breaking everywhere is breaking records.
As long as there's money to be made, we're not going to worry about it. Not going to worry about it until the until the water starts evaporating out of the ocean.
Wait a second.
So the Pacific Ocean is gone now, and
so the biosphere seems a little thin today. Oh, talk about your real life horror. Oh man, it's a while. It's for one of the rare moments. I'm actually all caught up for the month, and I know I'm caught up for next month. So I got all my work done ahead of time. I want to give a thank you to Johnny for that new scheduling deal with Adobe for scheduling out the daily splatter. It makes it so much easier because I can schedule to all platforms all at once. I can just go and I'm done. It literally cut my workload in half when it comes to the daily splatter. So I'm like, yay! But I got all that done. And of course, we've got the Bloodbath Debate 32, and After Dark 32 coming up this weekend, which is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be Angela versus Eugene. That's going to be fun. You looking forward to it?
Oh yeah, I mean,
you get your argument.
Birdemic is one of my favorite all-time franchises, and I'm so excited.
She believes she's gonna wreck you with Robert.
No. Nope.
So this is gonna be it's so ridiculous, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. The writing the script for it was just freaking weird. So it's just like I hope I did it justice. Oh well, we got. And how about you, Alex? How are the kids doing?
Great. The older ones have been out of town, so it's been me, the wife, and the baby for a little while. And so we've been just trying to catch. I mean, there is no catching up with 4 kids, but trying to catch up as much as possible before they get back. And we're going to be going on I know this is so northern, but we're going on a fishing trip. 29th, we're going to go up to Wisconsin to try to get out of the heat for a little bit. So
awesome.
Ooh,
awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Got somebody coming over to watch the house and the pets, and we're going to take off. So
sounds like fun.
Hey, it's something.
All right. Well, we got a bunch of stuff we want to look at for this week, and of course, a lot of people in the live chat. So let's see who is in the live chat. And by the way, I need to bring this up. Bam! There's the banner with all of our amazing patrons who make this show possible. Scrolling down there. Oh, you got it right this time.
I got it right the first time.
Nice work. Oh, I fucked it up myself. I was like, There we go. Oh, no, come back. There we go. All right. So, who we have in the live chat who's joined us today? We got Travis Brown is up first. It says, hey there, horror nerds and family. Time to shine this monkey. Absolutely, we're going to shine this monkey. Because we're going to discuss the harrowing tale of a man and his monkey. It's one of the movies we're going to talk about. I even have the shirt for it, which makes me very happy. I love it when I own the shirts for the movies that we're going to talk about. So good to see you, Travis Brown, one of our amazing patrons. Appreciate you being here. Wrote it no less names in the house as well. Gabba gabba to you, sir. Says creates a that's okay. He's role playing there. Says I'm waiting. Well, we're waiting. Good to see you. Wrote it no last name. Thanks so much for being here, bud. Elizabeth Sylvester's in the house as well. Good to see you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much for being here. Another one of our amazing supporters, as well as Donnie Does That's in the house. Says hey everybody. Good to see you, Donnie. Thanks for hanging out. Aaron Reese is in the house. And by the way, Aaron Reese would like everyone to know that he is the nefarious power that is suppressing everybody's latent psychic abilities. So if you have a problem with that, take it up with him. That's an inside joke from my personal content over on my channel. So he'll get it. So I know y'all don't get it because y'all don't watch my shit. So. But thanks for hanging out, Aaron. It's good to see you. Elizabeth says, hey, I'm great. Just cleaned my house. I'm heading down to going down to do the rest tomorrow. Headed down to do some laundry. Then going to relax. How are you? Oh, I was just talking to Travis there, not us. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrote in the last name says it's finally down to 102 degrees from 106. That's something,
yeah,
I guess.
Something positive.
I guess the sun's going down, so that helps. Sarcasm's in the house. Good to see you, Sarcasm. Another one of our amazing supporters. Good to see you. It says, hey, kids and critters. Good to see you, Sarcasm. Sally Skellington as well. And yes, it is horror time. Thanks for hanging out, Sally. We do appreciate you being here. Mr. Malord is in the house all the way from Chicago. Says, hello, Fitness Freds. Fitness Freds. Friends? I'm not really sure.
Fitness Freds?
Whenever I see fitness, I always think of I'm into fitness whole pizza in my mouth. I just
That's ironic because I'm literally eating a piece of pizza right now.
Mr. Lord says 2 fucking minutes late. This is bullshit. Technically, I think we were a minute late.
I think technically 3, but you know, who fuck's counting?
Yeah, but who's counting?
Who's counting? Who's fucking counting? You know who's
Malord
fucking
like
counting?
I am.
Mr. Malord is fucking counting. That's who's counting. Time is money. He's from Chicago. Time is money. Cindy Johnson in the house. Good to see you, Cindy Johnson. Thank you so much for being here. We do appreciate it. She says, good evening, all. Good to see you, Cindy. Ivy Gentry is also in the house. Says, okay, I'm here. It's fine to socialize on the internet, even if you have the plague. It absolutely, that's usually the best time to do it. Because, you know, that's where you're going to get your socialization in. Mr. Malord says, HBO is supposed to do a series on, yes, it's supposed to be a prequel to the It films. I don't know how that's going to play out. More details as it comes out. But I'm torn on that because it's not written by King. It's not an adaptation of his work. It's literally created stuff. So it's fan stuff. So I'm not sure where it's going to go.
It's a fan film with money.
Right. Cindy John says, where is all the hair jail? Yes, for those who are not live, or those who are going to catch this on the audio later, I had to shave my beard. And for a couple of reasons, and in a nutshell, it was I had to shave it so that the hair can grow in more healthy. Because I'd done a bunch of like color work to it, like dyeing it, and it was all fried out. So this allows my beard hair to grow in healthy again. And the second one is I woke up the other day and had a spider in my beard. So
fuck that.
I shit you not. So I was like, what the hell is that in my... I feel something, and I pulled it out, and it was a fucking spider. So when you have wildlife in your hair, it's time to take care of that.
When you're in Oklahoma, though, you just have spiders crawling in every fucking crack and crevice.
Pretty much, yeah. They're everywhere. Yeah, it's not much that you could do. Rodnella Saint says, I'm slowly becoming a potato. Actually, no, I'm not going to say that. That's...
Listen, man. Hey, at least you're doing something. At least you're aspiring to something. Okay.
True.
Aspiring to spuddom. That's fantastic. Oh, that's great. Yes. Let's see who else we got in the chat. Tony Regimen's in the house. Good to see you, Tony. Thanks so much for hanging out. We do appreciate you being here, as well as Dib Dib. Good to see you, Dib Dib. Says hi here as a lurker, as it is bedtime for me. We'll lurk away, Dib Dib, but thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Jack Burton's in the house. Has talked about Wolfen already. We're gonna get to it, sir. Yes. We got some other stuff we want to jump to first. Ida Pimp you, but thank you for being here, Jack. We do appreciate it. Ida Pimp you to Hose in the house. Good to see you, Ida. This says hi, guys. And the Jord as well. Welcome back, bud. Good to see you again. It says, I am here. You are there. Thanks for being here,
He was
bud.
there.
Nemo 813's in the house. Is 104 degrees Fahrenheit with 32% humidity, heat index 110. Stay in the shade or stay indoors because that's gross. So be safe out there, Nemo.
Just yuck. It's just yuck.
Yuck, yes. Chris Durham Music Channel's in the house. Good to see you. Chris Durham says, hello, did I miss the trivia quiz? You did not. That's going to come up at the end. But thank you for being here, Chris Durham. We appreciate it. Let me see who else. Get everybody. I think I got everybody. Yes, I did. Aaron Reese says Jail's running around with a haunted house on his fucking chin. Oh, yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So, Cindy Johnson's like, I'm so sorry, I don't like spiders. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of them either. Some I like because they're beneficial. Some I don't like.
Because they'll fucking kill you.
Because some of them are dangerous. But I'm just like daddy long legs. I don't mind. Wolf spiders. I don't mind. Like orb weavers are kind of cool to look at when they're outside in the natural environment. But when they're crawling around my house or in my fucking office, like the brown recluses that I kill in my office all the time, because they are everywhere during the summer months. But when I pulled a wolf spider, I think it was a wolf spider. I don't know. It was either a wolf spider or it was a brown recluse. I'm not 100% sure. All I know is, one, it was in my beard. Two, it did not bite me. Because I killed it before it could bite me, so.
That's a huge difference in terms of bites.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. So, but all I know is that I felt it, and I was like, what the hell is that? Ah, it's a fucking spider in my beard. Okay, it's gotta go.
I can see this all in one failed swoop. You see it, you started flailing, and at some point you just grabbed the clippers, and they were just, oh, fuck that.
No.
I tell you, that was the weirdest experience. Because you got to start somewhere. So you just grab it all, and you just like do it with the scissors, and just like, and I was like, and I got a fistful of my beard hair, and I'm like, oh. This is kind of sad, but you know, it was
it's
kind of a bump because it was like almost 3 years, almost 3 straight years of growth there. So, NA's in the house, another one of our amazing longtime supporters. Thank you for being here, NA. I do appreciate it. And Flat Derp is in the house. Good to see you, Flat Derp. Thank you so much for hanging. If you have not subscribed to Flat Derp, jump over there. Jump over there. Jump over there and subscribe to his channel on YouTube because his shit is amazing. You will laugh your ass off. Plus, I have to promote him because he has given me a bunch of voice work to do over on his channel, and it's been an absolute blast. So I firmly have convinced him that I actually have voice talent, and so he puts me in some of his videos, and I'm like, yay! As long as I can keep him convinced of this, then he'll continue to throw me projects to work on. And Plothole says, help, Eugene locked me in the closet. Oh, this is funny. So Plothole's hanging out. And that's because if you're listening to this, Eugene is broadcasting from Plothole's studio.
Oh,
Not his apartment. So what's it like over there?
Well, it's actually a pretty nice setup, so I think I'm just going to stay here for a while.
Well, it smells kind of funny, and there's an arm hanging out at the door.
There's a question.
Noise keeps coming from the walls, but hey, it's cool.
Yeah, but it's fine. We might need to find another person for the podcast, though.
I see. Oh, yeah, because you might as well just get rid of him. You just be done with it. We've got you there. We've got the equipment there. That's really all we need.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. It's just a team.
Yeah. He's just at this point he's just superfluous. You know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Flat Dirt, for that compliment. I do appreciate it. And the George says the sequel to A Fistful of Dollars, Fistful of Beard Hair. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was weird. Oh, it was just so strange. And now I know what it's like. You know, when you see those moments in movies where somebody's like, I cut my hair off. Well, I did that. So, Plato says, I know where you live. You wouldn't come out here. There's too much wildlife.
Yeah, they have spiders and beards.
Aaron says Johnny's trapped in the closet. Next thing you know, he'll be. No, I'm not saying that. I'll put it up for people to read it, but I'm not saying that. That's going to get me in trouble. What are you doing?
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't put that on our Jesus.
The Weekend Horror podcast has been shut down due to...
We're being sued by R. Kelly for copyright infringement.
Oh, no.
I knew that would get you, Gene.
Oh, fuck.
Oh my god, I think I killed Eugene! Yes! I got Eugene!
Oh no.
Okay, I'm alright now.
You good? You good?
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, all right. So,
serious horror movies.
Yes, Plottle says, "Ever seen a black man blush?" You just did. Okay, yes.
Beautiful lighting too.
All right, so we do have some stuff we want to talk about before we dive into tonight's movies. So, the big thing. We actually got 4 things we want to jump to, so we're going to get through them as quickly as we can, so we can get to tonight's movies. Because tonight's movies are actually pretty damn good, and we want to jump on them. So the first big thing, Resident Evil released on Netflix. The new Resident Evil series released on Netflix. I've binged it. I don't know how far you guys have gotten into it, or if you've watched the trailer, I think. But have you guys gotten a chance to watch any of it? Did I lose everybody? Oh dear, I think I lost everyone. Oh, apparently everyone just dropped out except for me. Yes, Eugene and Alex, we lost them both, and I don't know what happened. So apparently I just checked the live stream. So apparently I'm the only one up right now. So yeah, that was okay. People are gonna take this as a joke that I mentioned Resident Evil on Netflix and that everyone just ran away. The series is not that bad. I will give it credit in one thing. One, it's kind of campy and fun, and pays tribute to the games because it's in the same continuity as the games. I do like the casting of Lance Reddick as Wesker. I thought it was kind of inspired. I like Lance Reddick. He's a phenomenal actor. I really dig him. But one thing that I will say that was kind of refreshing about the series, despite the fact that the acting's a little hackneyed, and it's really the writing is the problem. But because I mean it's a video game adaptation. But the big thing I liked about it was because it was a huge departure from the movies. It was good to see the intro. It was good to see the focus not being like this is an action piece with zombies. It was good to see the drama building up to this. So the series is set after the events of Resident Evil 6. So the original Wesker is already dead. The outbreak in Raccoon City is a thing in the past. This is new Raccoon City, and these are the events taking place here. So I really enjoyed what they did to it. They added to the mythology. It's about a 70-30 positive, I would say, for me. There's some obvious failings in it, but they do some decent stuff. So I'd recommend that anybody check it out. It's just a nice little departure from the 7 Milla Jovovich films, and of course Resident Evil: Welcome to Raccoon City, which was okay. If you are a giant fan of the games, you'll love that movie. But if not, it's all right. So because that one was really more made for the game, made for the lovers of the games. Apparently, the entire area over there just lost their internet. I don't know what happened. So hopefully they will be back shortly. But hey, fuck it. We'll carry on ourselves. Holy shit! Crafty Keela is in the house. Good to see you, Crafty. I hope you're doing all right. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight, or at least popping by. I know it's getting late over there, so I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, Crafty. Good to see you. Hope you're well. And Dive Moss 9 is in the house. Good to see you, Dive Moss. There you are.
Hey. We lost full internet for the entire house for a second.
Yeah, at first everybody went like froze, and I was like, "Oh my god, did we lose the stream?" You know, and then I looked at the live chat. I was like, "No, I'm still up. I'm good." So, everyone, apparently I mentioned Netflix Resident Evil, and everyone just fucking ran away. Oh, Joshua Lee has popped in. Good to see you, Joshua Lee. Good to see you. One of our amazing supporters. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, I can't believe Crafty Keel is back in the house. Good to see you, Crafty. That's awesome that you popped by. Thank you so much. We do appreciate it. Dib said Johnny chewed through the walls and cut the lines. Nobody puts Johnny in the closet. That's what happens.
Yeah, that's true. He's been fighting back constantly.
All right. So have you seen any of the new Resident Evil Netflix series?
That's the one thing I'm missing. So I want to start watching it this week.
Okay. I think you'll dig it. I think it's about a 70-30 to the positive. It was nice to get a departure from the action set pieces we got with the Milla Jovovich films and Resident Evil Raccoon City. One that takes inspiration from the games, but not so heavily vested in the games that you have to be a fan of the games in order to get what the fuck is going on. So I dug it. It's got some problems with the writing, got some problems with the acting here and there, but otherwise it's not a bad storyline. It's good episodes. Some of them drag a little bit, but it's kind of a slow burn. But otherwise, it has a good payoff in the end, and I kind of dug it. So it's got some good stuff in it. Good classic Resident Evil fun.
See, so I'm looking forward to it because I was a huge fan of the games because I've played like Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and 0, and a bunch of. So I love the story, and the movies kind of went off on their own direction and derailed at that point. I wasn't a huge fan of Raccoon City. Mainly because a lot of I think the effects were bad. I just didn't think it was shot well. I just didn't. But there's still some story aspects on it that I did like. So I'm actually pretty excited, and then I'll let people know next week how I feel about it. I might be like, this is terrible. It's and I'll rant like last time, or I might be like, it's good.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, I know that Alex will be here soon, but let's take a look at these. So, 3 big things dropped this past week, and we're going to take a look at all 3 of them. We've got them all here. So, first up, and it really kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting to see it this week, but we got the first official trailer for Orphan: First Kill, the prequel to Orphan, starring Isabel Fuhrman as Esther, Lena Klammer, or whatever, the little psycho chick posing, the psycho Lithuanian chick posing as a little girl. But we got the trailer for the prequel on, so let's take a look at that.
Oh, yes.
What is he doing here?
We found your daughter. She's alive.
Be prepared for changes. We have a child therapist that she'll be working with.
4 years is a long time. What she needs right now is our family.
Esther? Sweetheart, it's Mommy. Welcome home, Esther. We left it just as it was.
It's lovely to be back. I miss my family very much.
Our goal here is helping Esther acclimate back into life within the family unit.
Sorry.
I think something's going on with Esther.
Is there anything you want to tell me about your time away?
How's that possible? 4 years ago, she was still drawing stick figures.
Esther's behavior has been so erratic.
Hello, Mommy. Thank you, Mommy. I know, Mommy.
I did notice some inconsistencies.
What are you getting at?
To me, it felt like a performance.
If you're not Esther, who are you?
You gotta give.
Mommy, I made it for you.
Take and let your poor heart break a little. That's the story of
The mother protects her family. No matter what.
That's the story of. That's the glory of love.
So, curious about that.
I'm interested. I think based off of it, Esther. I mean, she's going to put on a good performance. She did a good performance on the original Wolfen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from everything I've seen, just from this trailer right here, it looks like she's going to at least be at that same level performance wise. Is this supposed to be like her first? This is her first time.
It's the prequel. It's how she took over she takes over the identity of a missing child that's been missing for like 4 years, and she basically shows up claiming to be this missing child, but in actuality she's Lena, who's freshly escaped from the asylum that she was housed at.
Okay. I'm interested. Out of a lot of horror trailers have been disappointing me lately, but this one at the very least is like, okay, it's kind of interesting. I can kind of go. I'm kind of curious to see where it's going to go. I wish the trailer was a little bit shorter, just because it reveals so much.
Yeah.
Like the fingerprints don't match. I'm like, don't show that to me in the trailer. We kind of know already that it's not really her, but you don't go up to or she pops up behind him in the corner. You don't really need to show. It's like, okay, it's kind of a confrontation that's going to happen here. It's already implied, but don't show it to me.
Right.
But I'm curious to see where I'm going to watch it at the very least. But I'm curious to see where it's going to go.
Sarcasm says, I'm already bored of it, and they put the best bits in the trailer. That's what I'm kind of afraid of. I'm kind of afraid they put all the best stuff in the trailer, but we'll see, because Isabel Fuhrman is a fantastic actress, and I'm looking forward to, she was fantastic as Esther the first time around. I couldn't tell if they actually did some digital de-aging for her, just because it's been so long since the first Orphan film, so they may have done a little bit of de-aging for her, but she's naturally she's a very tiny actress. I think she's only 5'3", 5'2" or 5'3". So she can naturally pull it off, but I think they may have just done a little bit of digital de-aging for her. They gave her the Professor X treatment to try to.
I mean, I'm hoping it's more of kind of a makeup effect, but also see the issue you have with these prequels is that we already know that she survives. Like,
Right.
she has to survive. She has to win right off the bat. So it comes down to the point where does she just kill everybody in the family, or does a family member live at the end? That's like the only possible question that could be answered. Whereas if you had a sequel, something like that, even though I think she gets like shot or lit on fire or something like that at the very end, if you had some kind of a sequel, it can at least kind of make it where maybe she can die in the sequel, maybe something else. It gives you more freedom, but she lived.
But considering she dies at the end of the first film, so we know she lives through this, and we know that Vera Farmiga's character kills her at the end of the first movie. So there's not going to be a third one. So it's not like this is a bridge in order to set up some big reveal in the third movie, in a possible third film. So, it's kind of like, maybe, don't know, but we'll see. We'll see based on that. So definitely let us know what you think of the upcoming Orphan First Kill based on the trailer we just watched. Next up, we have, and it finally dropped, Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Let's take a look at the trailer.
You ever heard of the Creeper?
A local legend, right? The Creeper comes back every 23 years.
Then what? Can't believe I let you drag me to this.
This is the Coachella of cosplay.
It is time for our Creeper Draw! Our grand prize is an escape room for two. Creeper theme.
Come on, you two. Are you sure this is where we're supposed to be?
We'll be out there in no time.
What the hell is that?
It's coming. It's a trap.
Let's go! There's no way out.
Come on!
It's coming.
So,
I kind of wish that it was just an original villain. Like if it was just some unknown creature that was kind of I think that would be way more interesting, and you would have a lot more freedom to do, because it's just a new creature. It'll be like, because part of the appeal of something like Jeepers Creepers is like, what is a creature capable of? What does it need to do? What is it like in terms of the first one? That was what kind of draws you in. Is like, what is this thing? Well, we already got 3 movies of it, and it's like I already kind of know what the creature's capable of. I already kind of know. Like, okay, well, this is how the creature attacks, this is how the creature works. So it just kind of takes a little something like from it. Like, maybe that's just me, but it just kind of takes a little bit of mystery, because so now you basically, it's like a 4 or 5 people just in an abandoned house. It's just like a slasher film.
Right, right. And I get, and I absolutely see it, because we know so much about it, and we're going into it, it's kind of like what new could possibly be brought to this. Now, the big thing that is intriguing to me is that obviously the first film was phenomenal. I absolutely loved it. The second film kind of capitalize on what made the first film good, and but the third film, but obviously didn't do as well. And the third film was for all intents and purposes was abysmal. And there's a reason why it was abysmal. Two reasons. One is because of director Victor Salva and all the problems that came along with Victor Salva, and then of course because of those problems, the lack of funding, the lack of support, and his ability, trying to get that thing done. Now, it's not something I want to dive into at length. People are already familiar with the issues there, and of course, once they said that they were going to reboot the series. What were they going to do with it? Because Salvo was not brought back, and not even Jonathan Breck was brought back. Almost 20 years playing the Creeper, and I think Jonathan Breck brought a real energy to that role. I think he loved playing the Creeper, and he made it iconic. Just and just his physicality alone, and I was such a bummer when I got to talk to him at the last Texas Frightmare weekend, and I found out that he was not going to be there. It was like he had no information about Reborn. He was not asked to return, and I was like, oh, that's such a bummer. So we're gonna get a whole new actor, whole new production company behind it, all new. Everything is brand new except for the concept. So maybe they'll do something different. Maybe not. I don't know. What's a bummer is that we're never going to get the continuation. We're never going to get basically the first trilogy ended on a giant cliffhanger, and that was Taggart, Ray Weiss's character, sitting there waiting for it to wake up again so that they could destroy it. And then we'll see the culmination of Meg Foster's storyline and Ray Weiss's storyline coming down to where they're finally going to be able to destroy this thing. So there was a bunch of plot threads that are not going to get resolved, which is a bummer. I hate that. That's why I was hoping 4 would be like, oh, well, maybe we'll finally, we'll clear this up. That's not what's going to happen. This is a full and total reboot. So I'm curious on that. It's like, now that we've gotten rid of now we can ignore the first 3 films. Now we're going to start from this one. So I don't know where they're going to go with it, which could be some surprises. I don't know. But like I said, it's hard. It does look gritty, and it looks pretty sick. I will say that.
It has some stuff that looks pretty cool on it, and I think an interesting concept could be, and maybe this is a spoiler, maybe this is not, but it may be if the carnival was in on it, so the carnival makes them win, so they become a sacrifice to the Creeper. That could be an interesting point, and it reveals, like I said, they're in on it anyway. But then, like, if I'm thinking right off the bat, well, that's where I would go. That would be the most interesting point, and seeing how like the carnival deals with the Creeper, then it's kind of like that means the movie could be very predictable. Like I just having, if they just inserted a new monster, something that we've never seen before, then to me that would be an amazing trailer. Like, you just like, I mean, what is this thing? What is hunting them? Because you don't really see the Creeper very much in it. And like, that could be really cool, and that would definitely be something I want to see. But it's like, how many times have I seen a group of teenagers or 20 people in their 20s in some abandoned house with some creature who just watched The Butcher, and it just lingers in my head. It's just there.
I will say, I no matter how good this one is or how bad this one is, I don't think anything is ever going to beat the brilliance of how the Creeper was revealed in the very first film. How it's with the slow transformations. At first, it was the truck, then it was the guy in the hat in the shadows that you could barely see, and then slowly it became more monstrous until eventually you got the whole thing full on wings, things coming out of its head, shit there at the very, very end. It is like a wholesale like fucking demon and shit. So, and the way the first film was paced out, and the way the reveal was handled through all the different stages, the metamorphosis of the monster through the film, I don't think anything's ever going to beat that. And not to mention, because we know all that, what are they going to do with this one? So definitely let us know what you think of the Jeepers Creepers Reborn trailer. Are you looking forward to it or not? We'd love to hear what you think. Remember, at weekinhorror@gmail.com or in the comments below. And last but not least, Blumhouse officially dropped the trailer for Halloween Ends. And I know this because Eugene shared it with me.
Yeah,
so
this is the one I've seen already.
Let's take a look at this one and see what the audience thinks. Halloween Ends.
Let's go. Come and get me, motherfucker.
Short, sweet, to the point.
Man, I'm curious to see.
Total garbage.
How much it feels like it's a story that could have been wrapped up in one movie, and they somehow like stretched it to like 3 movies because
into a trilogy.
Into a trilogy because like I liked the 2018 one. Like I liked it. That was good. It was shot very well. The effects in it were really good. It was a really interesting take, and especially seeing Michael Myers in like a modern cinema style type film. The second one was just like all over the place. It had some stupid characters and it made Michael Myers like supernatural again. And then
I don't think it did that, but we can diverge. We
can debate that all day. And so this one is basically all it's showing is like, well, here's the final standoff. So it was like, is this going to be like an hour and a half fight scene between Laurie and Michael Myers? Like,
see how much damage these two can take
on it. So I'm just kind of like, this easily could have been one long movie because I don't know how first long Halloween the 2018 one. Maybe if they added an extra 30 minutes to that movie, they could have wrapped up the entire series.
Craft Tequila, good to see. Thank you so much for hanging out, hon. Says, I'm out, folks. Sleep time. I've missed being here for the streams later. Well, have a good one, Crafty. All the best to the little one. Her son is 3 weeks old now. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
So hope all is well. Hope all stays well. Definitely stay cool out there. I know it's getting pretty hot out there, but all the best. Thank you, Crafty, for popping in. We do appreciate it. And yes, sarcasm. We all love it when Jamie Lee cusses.
Yes.
Because she drops a motherfucker like Sam Jake's like, come and get me, motherfucker. And I'm like, yes! Yes! Fuck his shit up, Jamie. Oh, Jamie, you know he's around. You know, she damn well did. She like drew a bead on his ass. I was like, don't say anything. Just fucking perforate him. Just empty that fucking clip, like right there.
You don't have to have the one-liner. People are like, oh, I finally got you. Then he stabs you. That's how Michael Myers wins.
Do not let that fucker catch you monologuing. That's how he gets you. Is he catches you monologuing or catches you having a moment and is like, nope, you're dead. So I'm curious as to where it's going to go. Definitely let us know if you're excited for Halloween Ends in weekinhorror@gmail.com or down in the comments below. I see a lot of love for Jamie in the live chat. All right, well, we got some movies we're going to jump to, and I see that Alex is not here yet. His internet is probably still out. Have a good night, Crafty. Thanks so much. Plotto says, JL is wrong. The stupid supernatural element was brought in. You don't get shot multiple times, stabbed multiple times, and beat in the head multiple times, and get up and kill everybody. You can if you're a big bad motherfucker, and Michael Myers is a big bad motherfucker. So
we'll have to debate that another time. That will be a bloodbath debate. Should he have died right there or not?
All right. Well, we got some movies to talk about, and of course, Eugene is up first. So, Eugene, what do we got first in our list tonight?
So first, we have released July 24th, 1981, is the movie Wolfen.
I know Jack Bird's been waiting for us to get to this one. So, Cindy Sue says Michael Myers is Rasputin. There he is.
Hey!
He's back. Oh, and we can't hear him. That's okay. While he sorts it out, let's take a look at this trailer.
Orion Pictures presents Wolfen. For centuries, they have been hiding in the rubble of your cities. The concealed threat. The invisible terror.
Recognize that effect.
Get
They can sense the rhythm of your blood. Hear clouds pass overhead. See where you are blind. A force so deadly, it will tear the scream from your throat. Wherever you are, they are.
Somewhere in the world, every other day, a corporate executive is assassinated.
Team her up with Wilson.
Murphy or Mahoney, I'm comfortable with.
You're uncomfortable?
With surprises. There's not a trace, not a speck of metal. Nothing softer could have ripped and ravaged like this.
Is it an animal?
Well, it ain't human. Do you realize how many people disappeared without a trace? Something out there might be eating people.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, get out of there!
What do you think it was?
You were being lured. We were being separated.
By what?
The carnivore. You got yourself some kind of meat eater. Meat eater.
What is it?
It's Wolfen. They're only animals. They might be gods. In their eyes, you are the savage.
Wolfen.
All right, Wolfen, directed by Michael Wadley. I'm going to go with that. Starring Albert Finney, Deanna. See, you do this on purpose. Deanna.
It's
Arnoa?
Michael Wadley.
Michael
and
Wadley.
it's Albert Finney. Diane Venora.
Edward James Olmos. And Gregory Hines. And Tom Newman. And basically, in a nutshell, it's pretty self-explanatory. You have a creature that's going around attacking people and eating people and ripping them to shreds. I mean, anytime you have wolf in a title, that's what you're getting.
Oh, yeah. And these things don't fuck around at all. I mean, this shit is fucking brutal. Like, you know, people get their fucking, like, limbs ripped off and shit. It was so the one thing I have to say about this, one, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I really, really did. I dug the shit out of it. It had a lot of, it reminded me a lot of Nomads, the Pierce Brosnan film that we watched some weeks ago. It had a good kind of feel that. Plus, it's rooted in actual Indigenous American history. Not just the legend in of itself, but I actually had to go and look at it and look into the history that they have. Edward James Olmos, even though he's not, I don't believe he's of Indigenous American descent, but he plays an Indigenous American. He plays a member of the Mohawk tribe, and this was the group of people that actually helped to build the Mohawk Indians, that actually helped to build some of the famous skyscrapers you see in New York, the Chrysler Building, the Empire State Building, the Rockefeller Center. It was amazing. I wasn't unaware of this, so it actually opened up this whole history lesson for me, and taking getting a really good appreciation for the Indigenous Americans that helped to actually build the New York that we recognize. Not to mention opening up with that shot of the World Trade Center, because back in the day you always had to show that thing. It was. I had no idea there was a point in time where areas of the Battery and the Bronx looked like that. And through the periods of Reconstruction where they're tearing everything down and destroying, and we're going to get to that as far as production design goes. I don't think you can buy production design like that. But the big thing about this is that I initially thought that this was a werewolf movie, and it kind of is, but it's also more of a spirit movie, which makes it a little bit more intriguing because they're wolves, but not really wolves, but they take the form of wolves in that respect, and it's mankind's kind of abuse of the land and abuse of these areas that awakens these spirits. These spirits come for revenge for having their habitats disturbed, which is an intriguing concept. But what did you take from this as far as what kind of a movie it is?
See, and this is something I actually talked about, about 2 weeks ago when it comes to werewolf movies, how we talked about how there's just not a lot of them because werewolves as a whole kind of pigeonhole because it's always like the full moon, you have like silver bullet, you have all these things where even with others like zombies and vampires, you have more leeway, but werewolves are very strict. And if you were going to make a movie, this is more the type of movie that you would want to make. So now, because it's spirit-based, you don't have to follow the rules of being a werewolf movie, because these things can attack you during the day. They can attack you at any point. And so that way, it can also kind of keep the audience on its toes. And so this where you can actually get a little bit more freedom with doing like just a wolf movie, a spiritual wolf movie on it. And so that was a thing that really intrigued me about it.
I definitely. And Jack Burton brings up supernatural wolves using the modern slums as their hunting grounds. It was never a werewolf movie, and I get that now. I do. Given the cover. If you go and you look at the poster, we put the poster up in the community tab, in the Week in Horror community tab, and you get the feel this is Wolfen, and then big scary wolf. You think this is and it's killing people. It's a horror movie. You think werewolf. But it's so much deeper than that. And just like Nomads, rooted in actual history, which I really, really dug. There's cool stuff there that's pulled from reality. I think Edward James Olmos he was both awesome and hilarious in his I'm gonna run around this nasty, just like butt naked. I thought he was I thought he was great. He just dove into that. That's Adama. Right there, that is the man who will be Admiral Adama in Battlestar Galactica. So that's Stand By Me right there. So I love Edward James Olmos. I think he's amazing. It's nice to see really talented actors get to cut loose and just have fun and be like, yeah, I get to do this crazy role and be cool with it. Albert Finney in classic form, the late great Gregory Hines. Love seeing him pop up, and of course character actor Tom Noonan, who a lot of people probably remember from Last Action Hero as the killer dude, that the guy with the slicker and the axe that Arnold Schwarzenegger fights. Tom Noonan's he was also in Manhunter. He was in the original Manhunter with Brian Cox. So, this is a really, really deep film. It has some really compelling themes, and I loved the underlying current of Eat the Rich. And this is 1981. This is 81. So this is corporate entities and these big money is essentially mutilating the face of New York for this for continued profits. And going all the way back to the Dutch, because you have to the Dutch colonists when New York was a Dutch colony. And it goes all the way back to that. And I love that they played with the very first kill, the Vanderveers. And I love that they played into that. And this notion that this is not just the earth itself, but everything rising up in the face of just this mutilation that corporate interests are bringing to the planet. A really deep and profound film that I think the writing was solid on, and Albert Finney is just fantastic as the cop. And one thing I really dug from a production standpoint is all the conversations that are taking place off camera. Is that every time you'd have the action, so you have the director would frame the action that is going on. You got Finney and you've got Hines who are having the discussion, or you've got something going on, and then they leave and the camera follows them, but there are conversations going on all over the place. And it was little nuances like that just made the whole thing feel so much more alive. That there were business. It's not like the action is only there on camera. They're there in the city morgue, so they have their conversation, then they leave. But conversations are still going on all over the place. And I dug that the director kept those so that we constantly feel that we are in a living, organic environment. Really, really smart stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing going back into Eating the Rich is you have to look at New York City at this time. When this film came out, New York City a lot of it was slum. You didn't really have a middle class that was going on. You had the wealthy, the people at the top, and then you had the poor at the bottom. This is where gang violence was at its max, where you could not get on the subway by yourself anytime, or something bad would happen to you. I mean, you think back to the movie The Warriors. That was how it was. People joined gangs for pure safety. So it's nice that they're able to kind of flip that on its head. It's like, no, you brought this on because you're forcing all this renovation in areas where people legitimately live. on it. People live there,
That
and
was
you're just knocking these
wild.
buildings down. Yeah,
I got a weird kind of like street trash vibe. Street trash, almost warriors. Street trash and warriors vibe. The urban decay, like the destruction, and people are still persisting in these environments. That brief little throwaway homeless scene, where like the homeless guy, it's like, but it says so much about that, and just beautifully done. And I think it was it was almost like the director was trying to capture the love for New York. And the kind of like idea of what New York is, and then the face of what New York is becoming. And it was kind of like directors like Henenlotter, who really love New York. Okay, they really absolutely love New York, but they show New York all like warts and all, and you realize that is where the culture is, that is where the spirit of the city is. And I love that that he captured this, even in the most destitute, destructive places. It was like, this place looks like a fucking war zone, and yet still it has that nuance, that New York essence to it.
It does.
The smell.
Hey,
you can smell it. Can you hear me? Holy shit!
Yes, we can hear you.
Hey, welcome back.
Everything works fucking perfectly until I get onto this podcast, and it just starts going haywire.
Jack Burton says they're suggested to be ghost spirit-like at the end. They literally disappear. True, they did. The wolves, and those wolves were amazing. I haven't seen like trained animals like that in a while, which is really cool to see in this one. Was how well these animals were trained. So I dug that. And he also says, and Mr. James Horner with the score which inspired Aliens, because Aliens came out in '86, 5 years after that, and James Horner ran the score on this one. Just it was solid pedigrees across the board. Oh, and holy shit, Boomer's in the house. Good to see you, Boomer. And God for 20's in the house as well. Another one of our amazing supporters. Good to see you both. And Boomer says, does Nail Gun canonically take place in Florida? No, technically it canonically takes place in Texas. So
yes.
Just a heads up there.
But
and Sarcasm says, I enjoyed the film. Urban sprawl is an issue, but when you set up werewolf, you set up shapeshifting. You also set up who is the killer, but there isn't a killer to detect or get before moonrise. I thought there was a lot of brilliant stuff done in this movie, and I don't think they could have done it better. To be fair,
it was awesome that they had New York. They had like you were talking about urban decay. They had that to work with in their production, and you've touched on a lot of the stuff I was going to talk about, which was like, what New York was and what it's becoming, and people love it so much that there's actually hope in this dark place. And then you see a lot of that played into the film, but also I like the nuance of it. You get this feeling like everybody's got this hope that it's going to get better, and unfortunately, it fucking doesn't. But it plays.
And also the cynicism that they don't believe the corporate interests that are telling them that they're going to make it okay. That they're the ones who are going to do it.
It's like, no, we'll fucking do it, and that's the New York attitude. It still is to this day. You're still looking at that. As New York has been through the most shit. I'm going to say that, and I'm going to regret it later. But the most shit out of any other state that you can really think of. They go through a lot of really bad stuff, and they always just get up and they brush off their jacket and they keep fucking going. And you see that they play with it a lot in the camera work. And there's a scene in particular, I think it's around the first kill, where
when the Vanderveers and the bodyguard,
when she's walking and then the guy's like walking and she's like, Chris, and he hops out and it's like, rawr. And it was like, you get to see everything in that kind of shot where it's like, it's all fucking just run down, but they light it up so perfectly where it's like, well, it's not really that bad. And she's walking around in nice clothes and, there's suits but it's just like creepy, like, because like, have you looked anywhere? Like, you guys eat here? Like, what the fuck? But yeah, no. When you're talking about urban decay, they used it in both their cinematography and the storyline, and it worked brilliantly.
You just reminded me, because some of the cool nuance, like I said, like the continuing conversation, so that that action is constantly going on. It made the film more alive. That action was going on off camera, like that, like the whole sequence when they're picking up the bodies of the rich couple that are killed at the beginning, and it was just be careful. And then Gregory Hines is like that her throat was slashed so badly that she was nearly decapitated. And so it's like, okay, guys, you could take her away. So then Gregory Hines and Albert Finney walk off camera, or they walk away, and the camera's following them, and you hear the guys go to pick up the body, and Gregor Hines like, "Hey guys, be careful!" And then you hear a thunk, and he's like, "Oh," and because her head fell off, and then but you don't see any of this, but then the guys are like, "Oh," and then you hear them reacting to it, and Gregor Hines he's like, "Come on, y'all." He's like, just his reaction to what's going on off camera. And then as they walk away, you hear the conversation. Well, go ahead, pick it up. I'm not picking it up. You pick it up. So you hear this going on over there. It's like, they do that throughout the whole film. And it's just, I love that he captured that and kept that it's little pieces like that that really make a film feel alive. So I dug what he did with this one. And the production value just can't be beat. You can't beat shooting in what arguably look like very dangerous areas. Heavy construction, a lot of demolition. But, the risk that you take because you can't buy production value of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. Any kind of use that environment. And I like films that utilize that. Probably the best example, maybe 28 Days Later. In terms of just your production design. Another great one, and I love this one, and the shoehorn budget, Night of the Comet, where they shot on Christmas Day in LA because they knew the streets were empty, and they were able to accomplish that same thing. So you kind of get that destitute, that urban decay, that kind of stuff where you could build it on a set and it'll cost you several $1 million, or you can find the right location, shoot it almost for free. I mean, who knows what they pay for these locations on it, but use that to your advantage, and it's able to add something to your film because it's not no longer just about, a spiritual wolf is attacking people, but now you add that class element to it, and that's one of the best things about horror films is you can throw themes like that.
Jack Burton brings up the bar scene when with Edward James Olmos and the rest of the Mohawk Indians that are hanging out, which was actually, they never named the bar, but there actually was a bar that all of the Mohawk tribe frequented in New York. That was their watering hole after they got done with the day's work, after a day's work working on the high steel, which is what they referred to them as. But they were called the Mohawks, the Mohawk Skywalkers, is what they were referred to as, and because the Native Americans that were hired to work on these projects, they had no fear of going up and working in these high places. So, and plus it was fantastic money because the risk was so high. So they were willing to go up. So they got their own name, and it was something like, and it was I can't remember how many of them there were, but it was a selection of the tribe had been, opted to stay in New York, apart from, to not go with westward expansion and kind of integrate into society. And New York can integrate anybody. And so they hung out and they found their niche by helping to build the skyline that we see today, from the bridges to the skyscrapers. And there's a scene that Jack brings up, the bar scene with Olmos and Finney. And that, as from a writer's perspective, and yes, Jack is right, that is how you fucking do exposition. And it was brilliantly done, because you've got Finney, essentially the white man, walking into an Indigenous American bar where everyone is indigenous. So there's already that kind of like anxiety, and he walks in, and Finney understands this. His character Jack understands this. He doesn't put anybody off. He just comes and says, "This is what it is. This is what I'm dealing with. Can you help?" But not putting anything on them, no responsibility, and just getting the information that he needs in order to do his job. And I like that there was both the tension there and the exposition played exceptionally well. So the amount of respect, kind of like the begrudging respect that they have for one another. So I really dug it. This was a beautifully done film, and I think deserves way more credit than it got.
It did. It became almost a cult film because it didn't do well right away, but as you can see, people enjoy it now still.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, it didn't at the time. It might have been ahead of its time. I know we say that a lot, but
Aaron says, "Sorry, I left in urban decay. I was afraid Abel Ferrara would show up." I was just about to say, like, Henenlotter and Ferrara, they captured New York urban decay the absolute best. They showed that the seediness, the underbelly, the grossness of New York is kind of where the heart of it lies. And there's good things to be found in those areas as well. So, but definitely, if you haven't got a chance to watch this one, I highly recommend it. It's fantastic acting, great writing, a good little bit of history pulled straight from the history of New York, a love for the city, and really captures the spirit of it. So really, just a deep film. Really, really dug it.
It definitely give it a watch.
Yep.
And I'd actually like to ask the audience, do you think Wolfen needs a sequel, a reboot, or a remake? Or maybe we should just be left alone? I mean, we're talking about all the trailers we watched earlier were what reboots, remakes, prequels, this and that. Is Wolfen one of those movies that maybe it needs to be redone? Or maybe a sequel? Let us know in the comments below or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
I honestly think they should leave it alone.
Yeah.
This is one that stands on its own.
Good movies, just leave alone. Bad movies, good stories are executed poorly, or the movies need to be remade.
Right.
It's wrote it no last name made a good point. He said you can see how like Escape from New York was. No, that's not what I saw.
Oh.
They gave us a slice of life. No, go up to. They gave us a slice of life, an era of time that can't be replicated today. You would not be able to get the same, image of New York because it's changed so much since then. And I think the timing was perfect for that. The story and the cinematography and everything was, like I said, ahead of its time. But you could not. I don't think you could do it again without spending a shitload of money and the production value being lower because it would be more orchestrated or more, made up. They'd have to make it look like it used to, and you just can't do that.
Definitely.
Agreed.
All right.
All right.
Sir Cadam says if it were to be remade, they need to remove the werewolf clues and let it be more plainly man versus supernatural. And even then, I think that that might hurt it. So I think this is one that should be left alone, and I think it stands on its own merits. It was good if at 1981 when it came out, it captured New York perfectly in the 80s, and I think that's where it should stand. New York in 2022 is not New York in 1981. So the face of the city has changed. I think the face of the boroughs has completely changed in that time period. So I think this is just one of those ones that should remain in the annals of history.
Oh, Travis, get out of here!
The Wolfen of Wall Street. That's awesome. All right, our next one coming up is released July 24th, 2015. We have the creature feature, Dark Was the Night. Let's check out this trailer.
I think we might be dealing with something that's not easily explained.
You been out in the woods lately? Into the trees? All the animals just up and abandoned. Animals sense as a threat, tend not to hang around. You hear that?
Jesse, come in, over.
This thing that we're looking for, maybe it's always been here.
Those are just stories, Donnie. People have been telling them around here for a long time.
What if there's something wrong about these ones?
You really think there's a monster in the woods, Donnie? Okay.
Someone's in the backyard.
Anyone out there?
Something lives in our woods. And it's looking for food. And it found us.
Let's go!
Donnie, it's in the house.
Donnie said, I fucking told you. I told you, guy.
All right. Dark Was the Night, directed by Jack Heller, written by Tyler Hissel, and starring Kevin Durand, Lucas Haas, and Bianca Kaljic. The story basically follows a sheriff of a very small town up north who finds his tiny idyllic little town suddenly besieged by creatures that attack, or by a monstrous creature that attacks in the night, and is going after all the livestock, driving out all the wild game from the local forest, and eventually setting its sights on the populace. So, and then he takes a stand to fight against it. I really, really dig this one because it's both a predominantly for its atmosphere, because Kevin Durant is a fantastic dramatic actor, and I loved the storyline going into this. I think it was very similar to what they tried to do with 30 Days of Night, in respect like the relationship between Eben and Stella. But they pulled it off better in this one, just because I think Kevin Durant is just a fantastic actor. But otherwise, I predominantly dig this one because it has some real life inspirations.
So, reading up on this shit, you're right. So this movie kind of pulls from a story. They called it "The Devil's Footprints," and so in February of 1855, near East and South Devon, England, after it snowed, there was some hoof-like marks that appeared in the snow from like a 40 to 100 mile radius. The stories differ wherever you look, but the religious bunch at the time, the religious leaders suggested that these were the tracks of Satan, and so there was a lot of speculation as to what was going on. I mean, at that time, the pictures that they show of the tracks do just look like straight up like horse hooves. But the story, you know how 1855, everything was fucking handed down. So it went from, oh, look, somebody came through here with a horse, to fucking Satan's coming and he's going to kill us all. And they started attributing these sightings to deaths, and it became this story that even in 2015, they're still coming up with these fucking crazy stories.
Well, it was weird because the tracks that as they followed them, they did weird things. They went over houses, they went over hay bales, they went down alleyways, they went along walls, and
right, all kinds of unaccountable places. Is what
unaccountable place, right? It was like this is definitely weird, and we're bipedal, but obviously they look like horse hooves, and we're actually quite large. So it was weird. So it was undetermined if it was a hoax or given how long ago the story was, how blown out of proportion it has become over time. But it was logged as an event that took place. People woke up one morning and there were strange hoof prints all over the town.
1855, people are bored as shit in England. Somebody is like, this is the heaviest snow we've seen in a while. Let's fuck with people. And they took a couple of fucking horseshoes and figured out how to make it look like they went over the houses. But no, it being back in 1855 England, you see these horse hooves up the side of a wall on the. People are like, oh my, they're losing their shit. You got fucking religious movements and leaders, and they're like, it's Satan, and everybody starts freaking out. It's hilarious if it was a hoax. Props to those fucking pranksters.
Hey, and I see Facty's joining us. Good to see you, Facty. Thanks for popping in. Do appreciate it. And he says, my beard looks fantastic except for the spider poop on my chin. So, and wrote it no less name says, was it Tracks of the Moon Beast? Oh! No, that creature had 3 toes, had three reptilian toes. But I thought that was actually kind of neat that he pulled that. And fortunately, they use it to very small effect in the film. That sequence where they see that, where they wake up, when they come out the next morning, there's the large tracks all over the place. It's like, I see where they use that kind of effect. But the movie in and of itself is intriguing because going into the production on this one is standard creature feature, but the director really, this is what I wanted to examine. The director really, really wanted to create a unique monster that had something that had never been seen before. He wanted to make something new. And that's really fucking hard.
That's really hard to do, and because we've seen so many different variations of different monsters, different creatures. I mean, then creature features come out just about every year. So coming out with something new is very, very difficult. But at the same time, that's what a film like this is intriguing. So when I was talking earlier about the Jeepers Creepers trailer, it was like this film would be really interesting if it was a new creature.
Right.
Because then it's like, well, you don't know what it is versus, well, we already know the Jeeper and all this kind of stuff we do. This is the type of movie that can kind of pull you in because you don't know what it is. You don't know what rules it follows. And what's really interesting is the fact that you're learning about these creatures' abilities as the characters are learning about these creatures' abilities. Because you don't know, because all of a sudden it jumps from the roof and then you realize, oh, it can climb. Oh, it can do this. Oh, it can do that. And then even towards the very end, when it's like, oh, starts this happening, where there are some things about this creature that I don't want to spoil the ending, but there's some things about this creature that become unexpected. You think it's done, and then it's not done on it. And
that
so
was the thing, is like when they're in the woods and they see the scratch marks and Kevin Durant's like, he's like, they're following the footprints and the footprints just stop and they're in the middle of the woods. It's like, so when they just stop, they just vanish. And then he's like looking and there's like claw marks in the trees and everything. I was like, come on, dude. I was immediately like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's using the trees. You know, that was immediately in my head because apparently those movies don't exist in this universe. But it's an intriguing concept, and they reveal little bits at a time. First, you realize that this thing is fast. First, it's strong as shit. It's ripping motherfuckers apart. So we realized, and it was essentially there's kind of an eco theme there because it's industrial logging that is pressed so far north that it's displaced this thing and it's pushed it into a populated area. So it was what we see happening with natural creatures, but this time it happens to have kicked up something brand new that we've never seen before. And they dropped the coelacanth reference when we rediscovered the coelacanth, that fish was still alive today. So they dropped that reference in there, that this is something that is plausible. So this predator comes out of the damn woods, and we get bits and pieces. It's super strong. It's super fucking fast. It's tough as shit. It climbs all over the place, and it likes the dark and doesn't come out during the day. So I dug that. The problem that I ran into is that creating a unique monster at this point, because this was 2015 when the movie came out, trying to make something really new is, I think, in my personal opinion, is impossible. Because at this point, everything that we see, every monster that we can create is an amalgamation of shit that we've seen before. So you take all these different animals, you can take different facets of them to try and make something really, really intriguing. It's kind of like the Leviathan problem, where it's like, well, what can we do with this creature that mutates into everything that it eats or it eats its DNA. So like in Leviathan, it was like this biological organism that fed off other organisms and then added its DNA to its own and increasingly became a more mutated and horrible monster. But that's essentially, you're just adding human life and sea life. You're just adding it to Stan Winston gets this big fish-looking fucking thing in the water, and then Peter Weller blows it up with a grenade in the mouth with a Dr. J shot. So, but the problem here is that this is essentially the same. That was in the 80s. And so, I see what they were trying to go for. The problem is they were doing so well. The acting carried it. The writing carried it. I love the, Nick D'Amici popped in there. He's one of my favorite actors. He popped in there as the dude in the truck. He was like, "Hey, yo, I'm Nick D'Amici. I'm here to give you some wisdom." And then then we never see him again. And I think we never see him again.
Hey, by the way, shit's about to get fucked up. Peace.
Right. He's like, and so I'm sitting here looking at him. Was like, and then they drop little hints. You see movement. You see claws. You see a foot go by. You see the scene when it's walking up the stairs and it's infiltrated the sheriff's house. But then, and so oh, we got some interesting shit. This looks weird. It looks intriguing. It looks unique. Until you see it CGI at the end. Which is like, here's your monster. And I was like, huh, really? And you see it's an amalgamation of shit you've seen before. Actually, it's kind of an amalgamation of shit that occurs in nature, which is essentially what all monsters are, really. It's just like they pull from different things. So I think that they tried, and they were almost there when showing bits and pieces. It was like, that's weird. I've never seen that before. And then they went to show the monster at the end, which I think was a mistake. I think if they pulled more of, you remember the movie The Monster? With the little girl, exactly, yeah, with Ella, yeah. Well, okay, so in that one, you never really saw the thing. You saw it in like profile, or you saw it like backlit. So you got it in shadow, and you got it like, oh, it's gleam, it's kind of wet, it's black, it's gross. Oh, it's got claws, it's got teeth, but you never really. And then when she sets it on fire, when Ella sets it on fire at the end, you still didn't even really see it. Because it's all in flames, and then it dies, and it's so dark out, it's kind of like, oh, there it is, and it's dead. They kept enough of it hidden, and that's what I think they should have done in Dark Was the Night. It doesn't ruin the movie by any stretch, but otherwise, I think they just revealed too much at the end. Because at the end, it kind of came out, I was like, oh, I'm a big hulking monster, oh, and that's pretty much it. So
the thing is because you can't beat the imagination.
Exactly.
You can't, because your imagination is going to naturally fill it in, and all of a sudden it's a kind of just creepy buildup, and you see like a hoof, you see a claw, you see these little things here and there, and then you never, as soon as you show it, all of a sudden it just becomes fake.
Right.
And it just
wrote it no last name brings up, much like Alien, even at the end of by the end of Alien, you still don't even really see that thing full on. I think there's one shot in the movie Alien where the actual whole alien is revealed. And even then, it's not even totally revealed because it was backlit. So you kind of get an idea of the thing.
Right.
But we didn't really see aliens until the James Cameron sequel.
Yeah, well, James Cameron had the money to make it scary.
That's true.
James Cameron had James Cameron money.
So that was the whole big thing. It in no way ruins the film. I just think it was they took it. It was a fantastic setup. They're in the church. The sheriff is kind of like found his inner strength again. The wife's there because he's got his own story, which is just heartbreaking when you go through it. And then of course he's lost faith in himself. He doesn't know if he can protect anybody. He's lost faith in the fact that he can do his job, and everybody around him is telling him, "We've got your back. We believe in you." He's just got to believe in himself. And then I love how it culminates into this standoff sequence in the church, which was well done. And then in the end, what are you doing? Are you intruding on the show? Aaron said, if you're gonna speak up, you better show up. And then it culminates in this fantastic standoff, which unfortunately is kind of diminished by the reveal of this thing, and it's very obviously CGI. When they use so many practical effects to such good effect, they should have just kept it that way. But that's just me.
Yeah, they probably got to the point where they wanted to show it, and doing pieces of monster is a lot easier to do than an entire monster if you don't have the Jim Henson budget for that. So they probably tried the best they can, went CG, and it's just better not show it. Just better not.
So here's my question for the audience. Is a unique monster something that we've never seen before? Is this even a possible thing? Is it possible to do something that we haven't seen before? Or at this point in the horror game, in the game of monsters, for either film or books or whatever, is it even possible to make something new? To have something completely unique? I'm curious what y'all think. Let us know down in the live chat, or of course in the comments, or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. Is a unique monster even a possible thing, or is it just kind of like pie in the sky, kind of a pipe dream? So let us know.
I still want to believe that it's possible that somebody out there will think of something, because it makes you think of, it was like 1899 where the patent office said everything that has been invented or can be invented has been invented, and then the Wright brothers flew like 4 years later. So maybe we can't think of it, or a majority of people can't think of it, but I'm pretty sure there's somebody out there somewhere that can come up with something. And if you are able to do that, that is awesome. I'm looking forward to see it, because I like to see unique things.
All right. And actually, wrote it in the last name, says yes, Tremors. Unfortunately, Tremors was based off an amalgamation of there's an animal that it's not a worm, but they took attributes from other animals and they added them to the Mongolian death worm. Tremors took its inspiration from the cryptid, the Mongolian death worm. So unfortunately, and of course a little bit of Dune in there because of the size of the thing, the fact that it moved moved underground, but it took from other things. Chris Durham says Tusk was very unique. the walrus.
Yes.
Travis Brown says there's always a possibility, and you never know. The human imagination is limited. Fact, he says the ass blasters were new. The shriekers, the ass blasters, and the maybe the ass blasters, possibly. I can see that. Nemo says yes, but it will be very difficult. I'm looking forward to seeing people try. That's all we can do is just keep pushing the limits of the imagination. And yeah, someone just said, Sarcasm said, there's a reason there are so many unsuccessful attempts at H.P. Lovecraft. Very true. Very true. All right. Alex. This is a fun one.
All right. Let's move. I guess keeping it kind of on a nature course. We're gonna go.
I swear I didn't intend for this.
It's all.
I really didn't.
It's all Animalia. Yeah. So we're gonna go with They Nest, July 25th, 2000. What a great year.
That was a great year.
Let's check this trailer out. Dean Stockwell. Fucking owl from Quantum
I think
Leap.
you need some time off. Meaning? I'm recommending a leave of absence. You know I'm a good surgeon. I have to do what's best for the patients.
Dr. Ben Cahill was looking for a second chance.
There's just a certain amount of resentment here from mainlanders.
No, I can feel that.
A place to start over.
Why don't you sit down and have a drink? I don't drink. Well, I think you picked the wrong place to dry out.
But on Orr's Island, something is lurking below the surface.
You won't mind lending me your expertise for a while.
Somebody sick?
Somebody's dead. What do you think, Doc?
These marks here. These caused by crabs? Something's not right about this.
Vital tells us you've got a little bug problem. Maybe you want us to come out and take a look.
How bad is this roach problem?
You think I put bugs in your refrigerator?
Yeah, that's right, I do. Well, I'm in a lot more trouble than I thought.
Why?
Because it looks like these animals were eaten from the inside out.
They bite their prey and paralyze them in order to lay their eggs inside the host.
This just keeps getting better.
Oh!
That was a class pet.
They nest.
What about you? You ever been married?
All right, this one was directed by Elroy Eccleston, written by John Claflin and Daniel Zellman. This starred clearly Thomas Calabro, Dean Stockwell, John Savage, Kristen Dalton, Tom McBeath, Mark Shuley, Dean Ray was in there, Cheyenne Unger, and Walter Marsh. This doctor freezes up during surgery, and his superior suggests that he just takes a breath. So, it takes a few fucking months off and leaves civilization, goes out. And when that, as you saw, the body washes up on shore, he's brought in by the local sheriff to kind of give his expertise, and then slowly finds out that these cockroach-esque bugs are killing and liquefying the insides of these people, and then bursting out and spreading, which is fucking disgusting. And I got no problem with bugs at all, and this one made my skin crawl. And I get his reaction to the tarantula in the classroom because he's like, "Fucking bugs, I'm done with them." But there's a lot of cool stuff.
See the size of that thing?
It's fucking I've seen them here too, and it's like I'm just gonna go away for a couple of days. But so there's a lot to this story that was really cool. They really dug into stuff like they were talking about this African species, and they did a lot of their research on this, and it really shows through. So it wasn't like too over the top. Like that wouldn't happen. There's a lot of actual like bug facts in this that really played in the story, which is really cool. God, but it's fucking picked the wrong place to dry off.
There was
down here, are you?
the one thing that makes the movie watchable is that the movie never takes itself very seriously. That's what's important. If it tried to be like, this is a real scenario, we would just be like, oh, come on, guys, but no one goes in. Dean Stockwell is such a fantastic actor. Dean Stockwell plays it perfectly. Calabro plays it perfectly, and I love it. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's telling a kind of an honest, a good little story about genetically engineered bugs. The bug that they mentioned, like the African armadillo bug, is not a bug that actually exists, and they actually say it's often, they say in the book, it's often mistaken for the Madagascar hissing cockroach, which is the cockroaches that they used in the film, because they're big and they can climb all over shit, and of course they hiss and they make weird noises. And they also use those big Malaysian flying ones with the white backs. They use those ones for the flying sequence because those ones are kind of freaky looking. Those big roaches are all just kind of gross.
It's just like
we've got you know what would have worked was the giant, what are the giant Chinese water bugs that we have down here, the toe biters. It would have fit in with the story better because they kept talking about like crabs and pincers and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just I got, like I said,
it's a classic mutant cockroach horror film, and I enjoyed it. It's got its comedic moments. It's got its good little setups. People reaching into crevices and then coming back, and giant cockroaches. People just don't dig, and even these people don't dig giant cockroaches. And the sequence, because I watched this with Angela, the sequence with the big queen looking thing, whatever the fuck that was, crawls into Dean Stockwell's mouth, which you see in the trailer. Even she was like, no. So, but I dug this. But as a filmmaker, I have to honestly say, it's got to be difficult filming with insects, because there were a shit ton of cockroaches used. There were some CG, or I would say some animated ones, some CG ones. Mm-hmm. Some of the big swarm sequences were CG. The Madagascar hissing roach does not move as fast as you saw in the trailer. It's actually kind of a slow bug. But they use a shit ton of them, and trying to get over that, because I don't know about you, but it's one thing I've never had to do as an actor is work with bugs, or especially like cockroaches and shit. Because I don't like cockroaches. They don't freak me out. I don't like them. They're KOS as far as I'm concerned. Especially, and I've never been, encountered a Madagascar hissing roach. I've seen them in movies, but I'm only familiar with. I never have. I'm only familiar.
So weird.
I'm only familiar with the evil Texas roach, with the Texas cockroach, the mean fuckers that will dive bomb you and. And eat meat.
We have two roaches here in Texas. You've got the big ones, the tree roaches, and they just end up in your house on accident. They're trying to get out as fucking bad as you want them out. And then you've got the little German cockroaches, which are the ones that infest and get into everything. And I remodeled a house one time that we had to go to, and I'm not shitting you when I say when we took off the door hinges, there was roach shit underneath it. The pictures, roach shit, all the crevices, anywhere that was dark, they were inside the display on the stove. Like, it was everywhere. And they get,
like the trailer, behind the walls, under the
everywhere.
floors,
seriously,
everywhere.
They're fucking everywhere, and they shit all over the place, and they're super unsanitary. And so, like, you see the big ones, and those are like the okay ones in Texas because they don't give a shit about the inside of your house. They want the trees. You see those little fuckers, though. Oh yeah.
I don't know. I always had a big problem with the big ones, because the big ones. I'm talking the fucking Texas-sized monsters that fly and are mean, and they'll fly at you. They have I've encountered that they have no fear. I had one keep me out of the house one time.
Like,
I was trying to get into my front door, and it was like, and the sucker was up there on the eaves, on the little awning above the front door. And every time I got close, it would dive bomb me, and then go right back out. And I swore the fucker was watching me. And I'm like, I just want to get inside.
Yeah, I'll leave you alone. That's it. I'll leave you alone. I just want to go in.
And I've seen them. They're meat eaters. They'll eat anything. So, but seeing these ones and then adding this attribute that they're biting people and paralyzing them and shit, I love the fact it's just a fun little one. It's just, from a filmmaking perspective, it's got to be a pain in the ass, and it kind of, why somebody would want to be a cockroach wrangler is weird. It's kind of odd to me, or be a bug wrangler, because there are wranglers. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's something that I could ever do as an actor. What about as a director, Eugene? Would you ever want to have to deal with it?
Nope. No, I remember growing up and I watched was it Joe's Apartment?
Oh yes.
Yeah. And I watched the behind the scenes of that, and they just had these giant barrels of just cockroaches. Just giant. They're like, yeah, we have like 50,000 of them, and because you have these moments, and I will always remember the moment in Joe's Apartment where they're in like the chandelier.
Yes.
And you go over, and then it falls, and all these cockroaches fall on her. And I'm going to tell you right now, those are real roaches. Those are hands down real roaches. So they basically are like, hey, you're going to sit on this couch, and then at some point we're going to dump like 200 roaches on you. And you can freak out and do everything somebody would naturally, but we're going to dump 200 roaches on you. You have to be okay with it. Nope. Because I guarantee you, he may have showed up with 50,000 cockroaches, and he probably left with like 49,000. And who knows where the other 1,000 went? Who knows? You cannot guarantee me that you kept track of every single roach. Every single one. I don't buy it. I just don't. Maybe they did.
Angel Riviera. How do bug wranglers lasso cockroaches? Frogs on the back of squirrels with lassos. Duh.
The kicker in Joe's Apartment was when he put the one in his mouth, because they do the sequence where he's eating cereal and he's not paying attention, and he lifts up the spoon and it's got one of the big fucking roach sitting on top of it, and he's like, and then and so Jerry O'Connell actually put the cockroach in his mouth in order to do that scene, and he was like, the guys are telling him, oh, they're perfectly sanitary, it's not going to hurt you, they don't. I was like, no, motherfucker, no. But an intriguing thing that you bring up about them releasing into the wild, about them escaping and shit, is that when using Madagascar hissing roaches are actually they're considered an exotic animal and requires certain permits in order to use them, especially for filming. Because if you use a whole bunch of them, they can escape. So all of the cockroaches that you see, all of the real ones that you see in the movie, are all male. Females are not allowed to be used. Because if a pregnant female gets loose and gets into the wild, then you could possibly have an infestation problem. This is why a lot of states have them under strict protocol, that you can't bring females onto a set, and that because if females were to escape, we could have an invasive species situation. So any that you use, they have to be certified as male.
How the fuck do you sex a cockroach?
I don't know.
How?
That's the fucking dude.
Somebody check out your cloaca here.
somebody call Mike Rowe. We need fucking answers.
Yeah, I don't know. The fact you go, oh, we got to certify like 1,000 of these. Who does that?
It's a job for somebody. Cindy Sue says, that's it. No soup for me tonight.
No soup for you.
And Jin Ju's in the house. Good to see you, Jin Ju. Says shows up with 50K roaches, but leaves with 35. Just 35. But I will say this. For those who have the stomach for it, there's actually big business in Madagascar roaches. If you can get the permits, you can actually breed them. And they breed apparently really, really easily. The only thing you don't need is you just don't want them to get cold. Because they can't survive the cold at all. So you need to keep them warm, but you can breed them. And if you breed them and keep them in captivity, there's actually big money in them, because movies use them all the time. They always have a need for them if they're going to have bugs in it, because they're easier to deal with than your standard like Texas roach or your North American roach. So the Madagascar hissing roach is impressive because it's big. It's good to see. They use them in Men in Black.
And like you said, they're slow.
There's big money in using them because they look great on camera. People are freaked out by them. They're effective, and they're easy to breed. They breed incessantly because they're freaking cockroaches. So if you were to want to, there's money in it. So you can breed them for films. You can breed them for bait. You can breed them for exotic pets. There's a market there. So, and all you need is a big ass fucking terrarium, a lot of leaf litter, fresh vegetables, and shit for them to climb on. And that's pretty much because they love climbing. Apparently, climbing is one of the things they do, and they can climb over smooth glass.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
No.
No, not very cool.
So Sir Cadam says, no creepy bugs were harmed during the filming. The actors, however, will carry the emotional scars forever.
It's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely they will. But I kind of dug it. It's a good, cheesy little mutant cockroach film. Doesn't take itself too seriously. And it was, the acting and the writing weren't too bad. And you can definitely tell that James Gunn took some inspiration here for Slither with the bathtub scene. Because you have the chick in the bathtub and the creepy, the roach coming up. And I could see that there was some inspiration that some other directors took from this. Tesla Bitten is in the house. Good to see you. Tesla just love the look on Eugene's face. Not a fan. He's not a fan.
He said no.
Nope. Just straight up, no. I can deal with a lot of bugs. I deal with a lot of things. Snakes don't bother me. Spiders don't bother me. Roaches.
KOS.
KOS.
Oh man. So that actually brings up something that I want to know, because I, like you said, I'm fine with most creatures, as long as they don't crawl like up your pants. I had a fucking spider in my jeans one time. It bit the shit out of me. It was terrible. It was a wolf spider. But I want to ask the audience.
Them in your beard.
Yeah, no thanks. They nest in your beard. I want to ask the audience, what is the bug that scares you the most? I know people that are absolutely terrified of ants. Anything could just be terrifying. My daughter, it's June bugs. She was traumatized by a June bug when she was a baby because it got stuck in her diaper. It was dead. She sat down and it got stuck to her diaper and it was hanging off. And I was like, hey, let me grab that. And then she saw it and tried to run away and saw that it was following and just had an emotional breakdown. And ever since then, she went to June bugs.
My brother's crickets. So is because my dad used to work a long time ago. At a truck yard that was next to Irving Stadium, the old Irving Stadium, and in between Irving Stadium and the old truck yard was this massive field. So giant, undeveloped piece of land that was and plenty of places for his crickets. It was great. And you're in a truck yard, so at night the big floodlights come on to illuminate everything so everybody can see what everybody is doing. And so when the floodlights came on, the crickets came out of the field and into the yard. And they would come in a wave. And my brother, when he was like, I think he was 11, maybe he was 10, got caught in a wave of them. And they were jumping all over the place and crawling all over him because he didn't see it coming. So all of a sudden it was just like crickets all over, and that kind of traumatized him forever.
I will tell you, crickets are no joke, because it was something about 20 years ago, like around 2000, Dallas had a really bad infestation, and to the point where it looked like streets were moving. And I went to a high school football game. I didn't go to most of them. I was like, fine, I'm going to go. I'm going to support a friend of mine. And I got there, and there were crickets everywhere. And I'll tell you, during the entire game, I had no less than 10 crickets on me. No less. I mean, it was just there was no safety. There's no sanctuary. There was just nothing. You just accept it, and you're just sitting there, and just crickets are just on you. Kind of thing. It was,
you don't remember, what was it, 6 or 7 years ago? Yeah, we worked together. Buddies. We worked together when this happened. It was like the fucking gas stations that all the kids used.
Yes.
For a week, it was just black because they were covered in the gas pumps. You couldn't do. You feel bad because I gotta get gas, bro, but I can't move 18,000 crickets in any sort of reasonable way. So I guess we're driving over them. It was terrible, but yeah.
Jinju says, I tried to breed body lice once. Not a lot of scratch in it. But yeah, I get that. Yeah, Aaron Reese says, I'm less scared of roaches than I am the people that let them breed in their houses. Good point. In fact, He says big ass spiders, and he says silverfish. Fuck those. Yeah, those are pretty gross. Logical Hillbilly says bed bugs.
Look at you being logical.
Cindy Sue says roaches. Wrote in last name says look out for Jail's new horror script, beard spiders. and he says house centipedes.
Oh, so
maybe it's human centipedes.
Maybe no, but house centipedes. So up north, they're they look like they look like a mutant toothbrush head. They're like a small body, and their legs are very like there's a lot of them, and they're thick, and they look like a toothbrush if you flatten it out. And they're scary as shit, and they're fast. You turn the light on, and they scurry into the light socket. It's terrifying. I can agree with that one. They're harmless, but they're fucking terrifying looking.
Mr. Malord brings up cicadas. The cicadas are already out for us. They're actually out early.
They were insane yesterday, man. They're so loud. They're like birds this year.
They came out early this year because of the heat. So they hatched a little early this year because typically it's not till around August and then going into September when we get but our cicadas are out early this year. And the June bugs, not so much.
I haven't seen one this year.
Right. So I think
that's actually weird. I didn't even think of that. Normally we're getting bombarded by them by now.
I think it's because of the heat. The heat has kind of changed things a little bit. It may have killed off the current breeding generation. I'm not sure, but we do know like very few June bugs, and the cicadas came out early. So Aaron Reese says Oklahoma beard spiders. So apparently this is going to be a thing. Beard spiders, definitely. Cindy Johnson says any. I don't like any bug at all. And Rodent No Last Name says Electric House Centipedes. Sounds like a rock opera. Or a good band name. You should write that down. Electric House Centipedes. Nice. All right. Well, we got one more. Eugene?
We do. We do.
All right. The last one we have is Monkey Shines, which was released July 29th, 1988.
Let's check out this trailer.
Roll it.
A man trapped by his own body.
To Alan, to the start of his new life.
So you train monkeys exclusively for quadriplegics? How about if I were to donate a monkey?
She hasn't been exposed to anything weird in the lab.
No.
An animal trained to follow commands.
How am I supposed to take care of it, Jeff? The idea is that it's going to take care of you.
She's unbelievable. She's like a miniature person.
Get rid of that bird, or so help me.
One with the mind for revenge.
I've been so full of anger. I've had the most horrible thoughts lately.
I made up a formulation based on human memory cells. I've been injecting one of my monkeys.
I don't like this change in you, Alan.
The other with the instinct to kill.
What the hell are you doing to her?
Ella is getting out of the house, and I'm getting out with her. You do know that that's impossible.
Man is the only animal capable of murder.
Ella, no!
Until now.
She did it for me. Did it because I wanted it done. Stop it!
From the director of Night of the Living Dead, George A. Romero, the master of terror and suspense.
You're not gonna hurt me. I'm part of you.
Monkey Shines, onion into terror.
Fucking monkeys.
I know, monkeys. All right, so we got Monkey Shines, directed by the great George A. Romero, starring Jason Beckey, John Pat. I didn't have a chance to practice the names ahead of time. John Pankow, Kay McNeil, and Joyce Van Patten. And basically what you is you have a former athlete who becomes a quadriplegic, and therefore the friend has a monkey that he experimented on to go and take care of the athlete, and things get out of hand because the monkey starts killing loved ones.
Well, not so loved ones, but
and not so loved ones, and shit gets real.
Sure fucking does.
Rodent No Last Name says, well, it's no Shockma. Actually, I think that this movie was better than Shockma, to be perfectly honest. I think this one was fantastic. Obviously, because I think first and foremost, because It's George A. Romero, written for the screen. The screenplay was the adaptation from the novel was written by George A. Romero, and then of course directed by George Romero as well. And I think definitely a departure from his usual stuff. Although you still get the little bits and pieces of the things that make it a quintessential Romero film, the setting, and pardon me, and a lot of the camera style, a lot of the camera tricks that he uses for his productions. But otherwise, definitely a departure from what Romero usually does. Now, this was his second studio film and his last studio film. It was also his second most expensive film ever made, with its budget was $7 million. But I got to be perfectly honest. I really, really enjoyed this movie because Romero, despite the problems that he had with this, the studio interference that he encountered, the problems with having such a large budget, working with animals is always a pain in the ass. There were 12 monkeys that were used to portray Ella, not to mention puppetry and other stuff that was utilized. I can understand why he had such difficulty, but he still, despite all these problems, churned out a really amazing movie, a well done, well thought out and well produced horror film. But essentially from if you read pretty much the production notes of it, the film essentially broke him because he wound up shooting like 240 something pages of material, which is way too long. You can't have that long of a movie. They wind up having to cut over half of it in order to get one that's suitable for runtime. And of course, you've got studio pressures coming in, the budgetary pressures coming in, trying to make things. The formula is not what Romero was used to. Romero is an indie director. Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. These are the Crazies. All things shot under his power, by his direction, and he was the driving force behind them. Not something like this. And after this, he broke away and never did a studio film again until the day he passed away. So, and it's a bummer because studio or indie, he's fucking great. And while the independent films, you kind of lack flexibility, you kind of like are stuck because your budget you're constrained by budget and you're constrained by your shooting schedule, what you can do, but you have creative control. With a studio film, you've got the money, you've got the time, you've got access, but you lose a little bit of the creative control on that. But either way, Romero could turn out a fantastic fucking movie. And it was a bummer that it was such a bad experience for him because more Romero studio pictures, I think, for him to go the Wes Craven route, where we started doing more studio productions instead of indie stuff. Romero started indie, Craven started indie, and then went and started doing big studio movies. Romero just couldn't do that. I guess it's just who the man was, which is a damn shame because this just goes to show, and I think Monkey Shines is a wonderful example of how studio interference and the politics of making films can just ruin someone for it. It'd be like, I have no taste for it, no matter how good I may be able to turn out a product. And as good as this movie was, Romero didn't like it. He didn't like the outcome or what was shown. So no matter what, the studio effect ruined him on studio pictures. He went straight back to indies and never returned. And so he was happy doing that. That's great. And we got more Dead movies, we got more stuff, but unfortunately, he was kind of pigeonholed. We didn't get to see Romero really flourish thanks to that studio interference.
And the thing is, it's such a shame because at this point, he's already a well-established director.
Right.
At this, but you can kind of see why some directors are real apprehensive about going to studio route. One of the directors today, Jordan Peele. So when Jordan Peele directed Get Out, he received big offers for $100 million, $200 million films. Some that have come out, some that still haven't. And they threw all these offers at him, and he turned all of them down. And it was like, I still want to do small budget. I still want to maintain creative control. I still want to go. I want to do this route. And so that's why the budgets of his films that he directs, he keeps low, because he can have that more say about it, and he can basically turn out the product he wants. That's why he's happy with the films that he's done so far, just kind of slowly increasing budget. One of the things that's kind of been working for Disney a lot lately is Disney has been letting directors, like established directors, go the route that they want. Even James Gunn posted a thing on Twitter talking about how he pretty much had full control over Guardians of the Galaxy on it. Like Disney just let him go, and that's one of the reasons why Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the more successful films from Disney. Same thing with the Russo brothers and with Infinity War and Endgame. Disney has found that formula. So you know what? We trust the director, so let's just give them money and take a step back. And more times than not that it hits. But even back in the 80s, it still wasn't like that, because unless you were Steven Spielberg or you were James Cameron, directors didn't have that name notoriety. Yeah, horror films, of course, they knew who George A. Romero was. People inside the film community knew, but it still wasn't as prevalent as it is today on it. So directors still didn't really have that amount of say, and you get the studio interference, you get all the budgetary restraints, and you get more hands, more cooks in the and it can really ruin the experience, especially at the very end. Out of all that headache, out of all that heartbreak, out of all the blood, sweat, and tears, you're not even happy with the final product. And if you're like, I can direct this $500,000 film and be happy, or direct a $7 million film and be miserable, you're going to go with the 500,000.
Right. And he says, monkey reminds me of Outbreak. That's because same species, capuchin monkey, is the one that was used in Outbreak. It was the same one as that was used here. Same species that was used for Ella. And then, of course, Aaron Reese says he got tired of studios treating him like they owned him. And yes, that metaphor is supposed to sound that heavy. And I agree with you, because when the studio's backing you, the studio has that kind of control. You're a commodity. That's what you are. Your numbers on a spreadsheet, of course, and they expect you to do a particular job. But like any industry, they expect results, and it's going to be results within the parameters that they set, regardless of your creative influence or how good the shit you may have shot is. It's going to be their say, and that could be very disempowering.
Exactly. When you sign that contract, you know what's going to happen. You're going into it with a head like, well, it doesn't even matter what the fuck I wanted to do, because they're just going to do whatever they want to do with it at the end. And going in with that mindset can really affect a film. And you're talking about Peele and how he was familiar with that kind of restraint, if you will, because of and they're a little looser with it at Comedy Central and his kind of stuff, but I'm sure there's a lot that he has on his mind that he wants to get out there, and he knows that if he signs those contracts, he's not going to be able to, and so he's going to push, and he's going to make money on his films because he's a great filmmaker, and he's going to keep it out of the hands of people who are going to try to mainstream it. And nowadays, even back then, it doesn't work. Because what these studios think that these people want is not what they want. They want to see the creative directing. They want to see all the ideas that you had, and you want to see it as raw as possible. And it gets to a point where it's like, well, fuck you, dude. Great, $7 million. So what? I can go do it. Like, wait, I'm stuck. I'm fucking stuck then, and I can't do what I want. So the mindset affects the movie for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing that it's such a shame, because I really, really loved, I love the fact that this really showed, because this was an adaptation off a novel, and the fact that Romero is the one who actually did the screenplay adaptation on this. And novel adaptations don't always go so well, but this one was noted as being as despite all the stuff that was cut out, it really captured the themes of the novel. And I love existential horror. I love philosophical horror. I love horror that forces you to ask deeper questions. Big things like the ambiguous nature of human motivations and our seeming inability to deal with the consequences of the things that we desire, and the difference between instinct and rational thinking. And how we juxtapose that with things like religious belief. And while some of these were just only kind of like hinted at, and of course like man's control over nature, nature's control over man, and who is controlling who in this respect, trying to gain success off of nature by abusing it. Stephen Root, who's in a small role in this, Stephen Root, who plays he's kind of like the evil scientist, doing the whole the rats in the water bucket experiment. Horrible experiment. I know why Romero put that in there. Anybody who was familiar with it, it was an awful experiment that yielded slightly usable scientific results, but could have been done another way that didn't result in the drowning deaths of hundreds of rats. And then, of course, you got that guy who's like, it was like scientific progress, no matter what the cost, and we want results now. And then you got the one scientist like, it takes time, it takes effort, and I'm not vivisecting fucking animals all over the place just so you can get your fucking dollar signs. There's so many themes that are woven throughout the entire film, and Romero translated them, in my opinion, perfectly. It showed his talent, not only as a director, not only as a master of social commentary, but also the ability to transcribe literary works and bring them to the screen. And that was an untapped talent of his, which unfortunately the studio fucking wrested that out of them. So watching this movie again, knowing what I know now, it just pissed me off even more. because Romero, with his amazing talent, and he doesn't get to use it again, which really aggravated me.
Well, yeah, but where they did keep stuff in. So you're talking about like this instinct thing. Okay, you can't do anything because you can't use any of your limbs. You're extremely angry, and something that translated very well from the book to the movie was that kind of like living vicariously through the monkey. It was like, I'm so frustrated that I could just kill somebody, and then somebody dies, and you're like, whoa. So it's this yield of power, this yield of knowledge that your deepest rage is going to be fulfilled, and it feels good, and you keep doing it. And this instinct versus moral, not ambiguous, it's like just the polar opposite. This guy loves these people, but then also gets so mad that people die. It's just that kind of power gets to your head, and when you're helpless, but you have, newfound power. It's like winning the lottery. You get this newfound power, and you just can't help yourself. And it translates really well, because they were trying to show that a lot in the book, was that helplessness turned into power, and they portrayed that very well through the story, I think.
One thing that stood out to me, and I know the two of you picked up on it as well, was the primary the major characters. Alan's reactions. Obviously, he was a championship runner, and then all of a sudden he's a quadriplegic because of an accident. He was hit by a truck while he freaked out by the dog. He gets hit by the truck. Now all of a sudden he's paralyzed from the neck down. And fortunately, the situation doesn't require a breathing tube or anything, but he's paralyzed. So he's the runner who was essentially the kind of like master of his body. And now his body has betrayed him, and now he can't use it anymore. So he's in this frustrating situation. But then the fact that he is now dependent upon everyone around him to help him. So whether it's the nurse, the live-in nurse, or his mother. And then Romero captured the frustrations of having to help someone consistently, of having to help the invalid. Okay? The individual, they can't live without your assistance. And how those frustrations get turned back on, because that's a huge sacrifice that people have to make. And then those frustrations with that sacrifice is turned against the person who is the one who is the victim of the accident. And then their frustrations come out, and it just creates a vicious cycle. And Romero captured that, and how it kind of like manifests in different ways through misanthropy and almost a kind of misogynistic look at his female caregivers, both the nurse, who is the minute she said the line, he was like, oh, so you're Alan's caretaker. That's the burden God has, that's what the burden God has given me, or some shit. And I'm like, fuck this bitch. And the fact that his girlfriend deuces on him after he gets paralyzed, Janine Turner's character in her small role, Stanley Tucci is also in this one, and the doctor who could have fixed him, but he's like, this is my chance to kind of like leave him in a chair and and get his girlfriend for my own. Everyone is fucking this dude over at every turn, and then they balk that he's fucking angry about it, which just fuels his own anger even more. So the acting is great. I love what Romero captured here. It's just, I wish he'd gotten to do more stuff like this to really branch out. Bruiser was an excellent example of him kind of stepping out of his wheelhouse. And Bruiser was magnificent. And then he turns around and he does Monkey Shines. I loved this one. Damn it, I wish that they hadn't ruined him on these.
Well, going back to a sudden disability is the difficulty of that, because then you get a girlfriend that, well, she didn't sign up for that. She didn't sign up to take care of somebody. And it's not something that is temporary. It's one thing when somebody's sick or in the hospital, or even something that can be sick for a long period of time. It's permanent. So then all of a sudden you have somebody who's taking care of you and they didn't sign up for it, and it dictates the rest of their life on top of the person that has a disability. And that's very difficult to deal with. And to be 100% honest, not everybody can do it. Not everybody can. So all of a sudden they kind of lash out, because then that becomes the object of what they are upset about, because it basically hinders all of their plans. Because now it's like, well, this person relies on me 100%. I can't go and do the goals. I can't go and do the things that I wanted to do. My life no longer goes the way planned, and people can take that harshly. It's very, very, very difficult. And then on top of that, being the guy you said who mastered its body, and one of the most terrifying things, at least for me, is your body failing. When you look at something like we look at something with a scene in Wolf Creek where he cuts the spinal cord and all of a sudden your legs don't work.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do with that? Like you're depending on your body to hold up. And also, there's no work. You're now 100% hopeless.
Johnny's mic is doing that sound thing again.
Oh no.
Okay, there it goes. Okay.
Oh no.
Johnny's mic occasionally does this thing where it sounds like he's going underwater.
Oh yeah. So I mean, playing into that, it can be hellish. It really can.
I can't imagine, like you said, being the master of your body, knowing everything inside and out, then all of a sudden not being able to feel it, the entire thing, like you're just a head attached to something that doesn't work. That's got to be frustrating as fuck.
Yeah. And then of course, the whole climax where he just goes full Conan on Ellen. I love that. I was like, oh yeah, going full Conan, like Conan on the Vulture. It's like I love that sequence. I was like, oh, balls out, dude. Fucking balls.
Yes. Well, all right. I want to actually ask the audience, because we talked about Romero and his studio versus his indie films. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer his studio work or do you prefer his indie work? Let us know in the comments below, or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Awesome. All right. Well, it's about that time. It is. I know we're running a little long, but it is trivia
All right, see you
time.
Later.
It's trivia time now. So we got a trivia question for our audience, and we are giving away
an audience?
I hope there's still an audience. We are giving away a coveted Week in Horror pint glass this week, because I haven't given away enough of those yet. And Week in Horror pint glass and Sarcasm and Jack Burton, those should have arrived to you. I'm hoping that they did. Let me know, because those are the last two winners who won pint glasses. We're giving away another one this week. So here we go. For the person who gets this answer correct, the first one in the live chat, and I've got the live chat up so I can see who the first answer is. Make sure it's live. Yep, we're good to go there. Great. Here is your Week in Horror trivia question. The film Wolfen made early use of an in-camera effect to portray the point of view of the wolf. But what horror franchise later made this effect famous? So the film Wolfen made early use of an in-camera effect to portray the point of view of the wolf. But what horror franchise later on made this effect famous? First one with the correct answer gets a Week in Horror official pint glass featuring the artwork, our very first limited edition artwork from Josh Olsen. Here we go. Skid Scratcher. Good to see you, Skid Scratcher, but it's not my mom.
Hey, I see Joshua Lee.
Boom! Joshua Lee has got it. Even though there's a question mark, his guess is correct. It is the movie Predator. So yes, the Predator effect, the thermal vision that you see in that technique, that in-camera technique to produce the Predator's vision, was initially used. This was one of the earliest uses of that technique to portray the wolf's point of view. Or the wolf spirit's point of view in the movie Wolfen. And then 5 years later, John McTiernan would use it to portray the Predator's vision in the movie Predator, which would then make it famous as the creature that sees heat. So congratulations, Joshua Lee.
Congratulations, Joshua Lee.
Way to go.
We will get that printed and get that shipped out to you ASAP. Congrats. Yes, Sarcasm, you are correct. Predator. All right.
All right. And that will bring another episode of Week in Horror to a close. Thank you all so much for listening. And as always, we truly hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next week when we look back at the killer transplant horror body parts, a new envisioning of the Invisible Man in Hollow Man, the BBC horror miniseries Jekyll, and the gruesome 80s reboot of The Blob. Massive shout out to all of our amazing patrons who continue to help us make Week in Horror the incredible success it has become. Thank you all so very much. As JL mentioned, Joshua Olsen does all of our amazing artwork for the show, and his designs are incredible. Hit up his store at www.badsamurai.store. For more horror fun, be sure to follow us on all the socials for your daily horror posts. Be sure to combat the evil algorithm by dropping a comment, liking, subscribing, and smashing the living fuck out of that bell. And lastly, if you love what we do here and you would like and are able to support our production, you can by joining and enjoying the tasty benefits of one of our many amazing patron tiers. But if Patreon is not your favorite stocking method, you can always support us directly through our PayPal. Links to everything, including our Discord community where you can hang out with us, are in the description below. And remember, the goal is global horror domination, and we can't do it without you, our amazing audience. So, pretty please, with the severed infested head of Clint on top, go share the absolute fuck out of our little show. Thank you all for being the greatest audience a podcast could ever have. I'm Alex.
And I'm Eugene.
And I'm JL.
We'll see you next week, and as always, stay scared.